Metabolical, by Robert H. Lustig, MD, MSL. Introduction. Imagine this. You've had a long day. You get home, tired and hungry, and you sit down at the kitchen table. You turn on the TV, and without a second thought, you begin to eat a plate of poison. It looks like food. It tastes like food. In fact, it probably tastes even better than real food. But it's poison nonetheless. Not the kind that acts in an instant, like in a spy movie. No, this is a slow poison. The kind that works over years, silently, until one day you feel it everywhere. In your heart, in your mind, and especially in your wallet. This isn't a scene from a Stephen King novel. According to our guide today, Dr. Robert H. Lustig, this is the reality for most of us, every single day. The poison, he reveals, is called processed food. Dr. Lustig is a pediatric endocrinologist who spent over 40 years on the front lines of medicine. He watched as children began showing up with diseases once reserved for aging adults, type 2 diabetes, fatty liver disease, and severe obesity. He saw that the medical playbook wasn't working. The advice to just eat less and exercise more was failing his patients, and the medicines he was prescribing were only managing symptoms, not curing the disease. So he began a journey, a scientific investigation that led him to a conclusion so radical, so contrary to mainstream medical and nutritional advice, that he calls it medical heresy. His book, Metabolical, is the story of that discovery. It's a book that pulls back the curtain on what he calls the lure and the lies of processed food, nutrition, and modern medicine. Today, we're going to journey deep into the heart of his argument. We will unravel a story of how our food was transformed, how our medicine got lost, and how we, the public, were left sick and confused. But more importantly, we will uncover the simple, profound truth at the heart of it all. By the end of our time together, you will understand the two fundamental principles, just 6 words, that govern your health. 2 precepts that, once you understand them, can give you back control over your body, your mind, and your life. The secret is simply this: protect the liver, and feed the gut. Let's begin. Book summary. Our story starts with a simple, yet profound, question. Imagine you have a wasp buzzing around in your attic. What do? Do you spend your day chasing that one wasp with a fly swatter? Or do you find and remove the wasp's nest? Of course, you go after the nest. You go after the source of the problem. In his 40 years of practicing medicine, Dr. Robert Lustig came to realize that our entire healthcare system is built around chasing the single wasp. We have the best doctors, the most advanced hospitals, and the most innovative drugs on the planet. We spend more money on healthcare per person than any other country. And yet, Americans have some of the worst health outcomes among all developed nations. Our life expectancy is falling. We are, by many measures, the sickest we have ever been. How can this be? Dr. Lustig argues it's because modern medicine has become obsessed with treating symptoms, not the underlying disease. A doctor can give you a pill to lower your high blood pressure, another pill to lower your bad cholesterol, and a third to lower your high blood sugar, but they are just swatting at individual wasps. They are not addressing the nest, the root cause that is producing all these problems in the first place. The true disease, he explains, isn't obesity, or heart disease, or diabetes. Those are just the names we give to the symptoms. The true disease is something called metabolic dysfunction. It's a breakdown in the way our cells process energy. And this dysfunction, he argues, is being driven by one primary culprit: our modern, processed diet. To understand this, we have to unravel the biggest lies we've been told about health and nutrition. The first great lie is that your weight is the problem. We've been conditioned to believe that you first gain weight, and then you get sick. Dr. Lustig says that for most people, it's the other way around. First you get sick, then you gain weight. The sickness is metabolic dysfunction, specifically insulin resistance. When your cells become resistant to the hormone insulin, your body has to pump out more and more of it to get the job done. High insulin levels are a signal to your body to store fat. So, the weight gain is a symptom of the underlying hormonal problem, not the cause of it. This explains a phenomenon that has puzzled scientists for years. About 20% of obese people are perfectly healthy metabolically. Their blood pressure, cholesterol, and blood sugar are all normal. They are known as the metabolically healthy obese, or MHO. On the flip side, A staggering 40% of normal weight people have the exact same diseases as the obese population: hypertension, high triglycerides, and even type 2 diabetes. They are thin on the outside, fat on the inside, or TOFI. What's the difference? It's not the fat you can see on your body. It's the fat you can't see, the fat hidden inside your organs, especially your liver. Liver fat is the true driver of metabolic disease, and you can't see it on a bathroom scale. This is why Dr. Lustig says that focusing on obesity is a red herring. It's a distraction from the real issue. The second lie is that bad cholesterol, or LDL, is the great enemy of heart health. For decades, doctors have been telling us to lower our LDL with low-fat diets and statin drugs. But the science, Dr. Lustig explains, tells a different story. It turns out there isn't just one type of LDL. There are two. There's a large, fluffy, buoyant kind, which is mostly harmless. And then there's a small, dense, heavy kind, which is the particle that actually contributes to artery clogging plaque. The standard cholesterol test lumps them both together. Here's the twist. A low-fat diet and statin drugs are very good at lowering the harmless, fluffy LDL, but they do very little to reduce the dangerous, small, dense kind. So your doctor tells you your cholesterol numbers look great, and you feel safe, but the real danger is still there. So what causes this dangerous, small, dense LDL? It's not dietary fat. It's high levels of insulin, driven by a diet high in refined carbohydrates and sugar. Once again, we are treating a symptom, not the cause. This leads us to the third lie, that salt is the primary cause of high blood pressure. While some people are indeed salt sensitive, for the majority of the population, the bigger problem is, once again, high insulin. Insulin tells your kidneys to hold on to sodium, preventing it from being excreted. So, even on a low-salt diet, if your insulin is high, your blood pressure can remain elevated. What raises insulin more effectively than almost anything else? Sugar. In fact, studies show that restricting sugar can lower blood pressure more effectively than restricting salt. The final lie is that diabetes is a disease of high blood sugar. This may sound strange, but Dr. Lustig makes a compelling case that high blood sugar is the last symptom to appear, not the first. For years, even decades, before your blood sugar starts to rise, your body has been fighting a losing battle with insulin resistance. Your pancreas has been working overtime, pumping out huge amounts of insulin to keep your blood sugar in the normal range. All this time, the high insulin has been silently causing damage, promoting fat storage, increasing inflammation, and driving up your blood pressure. By the time your blood sugar finally rises and your doctor diagnoses you with prediabetes or diabetes, the war has already been lost. The disease has been raging for years. Yet, what do? We prescribe drugs to lower the blood sugar, which often means giving even more insulin. This is like turning up the volume on a speaker that someone has already gone deaf to. It's a short-term fix that makes the long-term problem worse. So, if obesity, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and high blood sugar are just symptoms, what is the real disease? The real disease is happening at a level you can't see, deep inside your cells. Dr. Lustig identifies 8 specific breakdowns, 8 subcellular pathologies, that are the true root of all chronic disease. Things like mitochondrial dysfunction, inflammation, and glycation. These aren't just fancy scientific terms. Think of them as the fundamental machinery of life getting rusted, jammed, and broken. And here is the most important part of his entire argument. None of these 8 pathologies are druggable. There is no pill you can take to fix a broken mitochondrion. But, he says, they are all foodable. Every single one of them can be improved or worsened by the food you eat. This brings us to the core principle of the entire book: protect the liver and feed the gut. Let's break that down. First, protect the liver. Your liver is the metabolic command center of your body. It has to process everything you eat and drink. When you overwhelm it, things go terribly wrong. And what overwhelms the liver more than anything? Fructose. Now, fructose is the sugar that makes fruit sweet. In fruit, it comes packaged with fiber, which slows down its absorption and protects your liver. But when fructose is stripped from its fiber and concentrated, as it is in soda, fruit juice, and virtually all processed foods, it becomes a toxin. Unlike glucose, which can be used for energy by every cell in your body, fructose can only be metabolized by the liver. When a flood of fructose hits the liver has no choice but to turn it into fat. This is the origin of that hidden liver fat we talked about earlier. This process, Lustig explains, is virtually identical to how the liver metabolizes alcohol. This is why children today are getting the diseases of alcohol, like fatty liver disease and type 2 diabetes, without ever touching a drop of alcohol. They're getting it from the sugar in their diet. So, protecting the liver means reducing the amount of sugar, especially fructose, that you consume. Second, feed the gut. Inside your intestines live 100 trillion bacteria, your microbiome. These bacteria aren't just passive passengers, they are active participants in your health, and they need to eat. What do they eat? Fiber? When you eat real food, full of fiber, you are feeding these good bacteria. They in turn keep your intestinal wall strong, produce anti-inflammatory compounds, and help regulate your immune system. But processed food has had almost all of its fiber removed. Why? To increase shelf life and make it easier to eat. When you eat a diet of processed food, you are literally starving your gut bacteria. And when they get hungry enough, they start to feed on you. They eat the protective mucus lining of your own intestine. This leads to a condition called leaky gut, which allows bacterial toxins to seep into your bloodstream, causing chronic inflammation throughout your body, another one of those 8 core pathologies. So, the mantra is simple. Food that protects the liver and feeds the gut is healthy. Food that does neither is poison. Real food, like fruits, vegetables, and whole grains, is naturally low in sugar and high in fiber. It does both. Processed food is the opposite, high in sugar and low in fiber. It does neither. But how did our entire world get turned upside down? How did we come to live in a world where poison is sold as food? Dr. Lustig takes us on a historical journey to show that this was no accident. It was the result of a series of deliberate decisions, driven by profit and politics. It started in the early 20th century with something called the Flexner Report. Funded by industrialists like John D. Rockefeller, this report standardized American medical education. It emphasized a scientific, research-based model, which was good in many ways. But it also had a specific agenda: to align medicine with the burgeoning pharmaceutical industry. The new model of medicine was all about finding a pill for every ill. Nutrition, which couldn't be patented and sold for a profit, was pushed to the sidelines. To this day, most doctors receive virtually no training in nutrition during their entire medical education. At the same time, the field of dietetics was being born, but its foundations were surprisingly unscientific. Its origins trace back to religious figures like Dr. John Harvey Kellogg, the inventor of cornflakes, a devout Seventh-day Adventist who believed that meat stirred animal passions and promoted sin. This anti-meat, pro-carbohydrate dogma became embedded in the new field of dietetics, not because of rigorous science, but because of religious belief. Then came the government. In 1977, the U.S. government issued its first dietary guidelines for Americans. Following a flawed theory championed by a scientist named Ansel Keys, the guidelines demonized dietary fat and told Americans to eat a low-fat, high-carbohydrate diet. The food industry was ecstatic. They took the fat out of their products, but to make them taste good again, they replaced it with something cheaper and more addictive: sugar. The infamous food pyramid of the 1990s, with its massive base of breads, cereals, and pasta, was the final nail in the coffin. It wasn't designed by nutrition scientists to make us healthy. It was designed by agricultural lobbyists to sell the glut of cheap commodity crops the U.S. was producing. Dr. Lustig calls this whole system an immoral hazard, a situation where industries and governments knowingly rig the game to profit from the public's suffering. Big Food makes us sick with processed food. Big Pharma sells us the drugs to treat the symptoms of that sickness. And the government, beholden to both industries, looks the other way. It's a bleak picture, but Dr. Lustig is not without hope. The way out, he says, is not a new pill or a fad diet. The way out is to reject the entire processed food system and return to eating real food. He debunks the fake diet war between keto and vegan proponents, pointing out that both diets, when done with real food, can be healthy. Why? Because a real food vegan diet full of vegetables and legumes and a real food keto diet full of healthy fats and non-starchy vegetables both end up being low in sugar and high in fiber. They both protect the liver and feed the gut. The enemy is not meat or plants. The enemy is processing. So, how do we begin? Dr. Lustig offers a few simple rules for navigating the modern supermarket, a place he describes as a minefield designed to make you fail. First, shop the perimeter of the store. This is where the real food lives: produce, meat, fish, dairy, and eggs. The inner aisles are the territory of processed food. Second, if a product has a health claim on the package, like low-fat or heart-healthy, it's a warning sign. Real food doesn't need to shout about its virtues. An apple doesn't have a label that says high in fiber. It just is. Third, look at the ingredients. If sugar, in any of its 262 different names, is one of the first three ingredients, put it back. It's a dessert. And finally, he offers a powerful and clear message of empowerment. This is not about shame or blame. It's about understanding. Understanding that the battle for your health is not just a personal struggle. It's a fight against a system that has been designed to make you fail. But with the right knowledge, the simple truth of protecting your liver and feeding your gut, you have the power to win that fight. Commentary. Reading Metabolical is like putting on a pair of glasses for the first time and seeing the world with stunning clarity. What was once a confusing blur of conflicting health advice suddenly snaps into sharp focus. The most powerful lesson from this book, for me, is the shift from self-blame to systemic understanding. For so long, the narrative around health has been one of personal failure. If you're overweight or sick, it's because you lack willpower. You're a glutton and a sloth. Dr. Lustig demolishes this idea. He shows us that we are fighting a biochemical battle against food that has been engineered to be addictive and a medical system that is designed to manage, not reverse, the resulting diseases. This is incredibly liberating. It replaces shame with empowerment. It tells us that we are not broken. The system is. And once you see the system, you can start to navigate it differently. The urgency of this message has never been clearer than it is today. As Dr. Lustig points out in a chapter written during the COVID-19 pandemic, the virus doesn't affect everyone equally. The people who are most at risk of severe illness and death are those with underlying health conditions, the very diseases of metabolic syndrome that processed food creates. Our diet has made us fragile. It has set us up not just for chronic disease, but for acute catastrophe. Real food isn't just about long-term health, it's about resilience, right here, right now. So, how can we apply these profound lessons to our own lives, starting today? It can feel overwhelming to try and change everything at once, so let's not. Let's start with a few simple, practical actions. First, take the 1-week sugary drink challenge. For the next 7 days, eliminate all sugary drinks from your diet. That means soda, fruit juice, sports drinks, and sweetened coffees or teas. Replace them with water, plain tea, or black coffee. Don't change anything else. Just this one thing. At the end of the week, just notice how you feel. It's a simple experiment in reclaiming your palate and protecting your liver. Second, become a food detective on your next trip to the grocery store. Pick one packaged item you normally buy: cereal, a snack bar, a jar of sauce. Ignore the claims on the front and turn it over to read the ingredient list. Ask yourself 2 questions. How many ingredients are there? And where does sugar appear on the list? Remember, if it's in the top 3, it's a dessert. This isn't about judging yourself. It's about building awareness of what you're really eating. And third, adopt the 6-word mantra. Protect the liver, feed the gut. Write it on a sticky note and put it on your fridge. Let it be a simple filter. When you're deciding what to eat, just ask, will this protect my liver? Will this feed my gut? You don't have to be perfect, but this simple question can begin to shift your choices, meal by meal, toward real food and real health. This journey isn't about starting a punishing diet. It's about starting a revolution. A quiet, personal revolution against a system that has profited from our confusion for far too long. Dr. Lustig's work gives us the clarity and the courage to begin. The power isn't in a future pill or a complicated program. It's on your plate right now. That was a summary of Metabolical by Dr. Robert H. Lustig. We've explored the core ideas today, but I'll be honest with you. A summary is like looking at a map of the Grand Canyon. The real magic happens when you stand at the edge of the canyon yourself. It's in the quiet moments, when a particular story or a simple phrase from the author hits you in a way you didn't expect. This summary is designed to help you decide if this book is worth your time and attention. If anything we've talked about today has sparked your curiosity or resonated with a struggle in your own life, I encourage you to grab a copy. Reading it isn't just learning, It's an experience that can genuinely change the way you see your food, your health, and the world around you. Also, if you found this summary valuable, please consider liking this video and subscribing to Billionaire's Bookshelf. It helps us reach more people and ensures you won't miss our next journey into another life-changing book. Let's keep learning and growing together.